Okay, so are you ready to get philosophical?
Always up for a good thought experiment.
Well, today we're diving into the mind of Gotham's Dark Knight,
Oh, you mean Batman?
the one and only. We're tackling some seriously meaty questions about his ethics and morality.
Yeah, Batman's whole deal is kind of messy when you think about it.
Exactly. And we've got some great excerpts from Batman and Philosophy, The Dark Night of the Soul, to dig into.
Awesome, love that book.
So, to kick things off, let's talk about that no-kill rule of his.
Always a hot topic with Batman, right?
Because on the one hand, you've got this guy who wants to clean up Gotham, fight for justice, all that good stuff.
Right, classic hero setup.
But he refuses to kill, ever. Even when he's facing off against, say, the Joker.
The Joker problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, that complicates things a bit, doesn't it?
To put it mildly, I mean, this is a guy who revels in chaos, who leaves a trail of bodies wherever he goes.
And he seems to enjoy it. It's not just about the chaos, it's sadistic.
Exactly. So wouldn't it be justified, ethically speaking, to just end his reign of terror?
Get rid of the problem at the source, so to speak. Well, that's where things get really interesting. See, we're diving straight into the classic philosophical debate, utilitarianism versus deontology.
Uh-oh, philosophy jargon. Don't worry, I'm sure you can break it down for us.
Of course. So utilitarianism is all about maximizing happiness, right? The greatest good for the greatest number.
So in this case, getting rid of Joker equals saving a whole bunch of potential victims.
Logically, it makes sense. But it's not just about the numbers, is it?
That's what's been bugging me this whole time. Like, it feels wrong to just say, okay, one life for the many. It's too simplistic.
Right, because the source material really forces us to confront that these aren't just hypothetical victims we're talking about.
These are real people with lives, families.
And the Joker snuffs them out with zero remorse. Remember that scene where he beats Jason Todd to death with a crowbar?
Ugh, don't remind me. Brutal.
Right in front of his mother? That's the kind of stuff that sticks with you. And that gut feeling you're having. That's deontology whispering in your ear.
Deontology. Okay, lay it on us.
Basically, it's this idea that some actions are just inherently wrong no matter what. Murder, even if it's to potentially save others, is one of those things.
Yeah.
Which seems to be Batman's stance, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, he's got that whole I won't become the monster thing going on. But then, isn't he indirectly responsible for all the people Joker kills because he refuses to break his rule?
See, that's the million-dollar question. And the source makes this fascinating comparison to, well, imagine a surgeon.
Okay, I'm picturing a surgeon.
A rogue surgeon, secretly harvesting organs from healthy people to save multiple lives.
Okay, that took a dark turn.
Morally messed up, right?
Yeah.
Even if the math works out that he's saving more lives overall.
Yeah, it just feels wrong. Like, you can't just play God like that.
Exactly. And that's the point the source is trying to drive home. It's not about simple calculations. It's about the long-term implications of compromising your values. Where do you draw the line?
That's a tough one. So are we saying Batman's basically choosing to let people die so that he can feel morally superior?
That's a bit harsh, don't you think?
Maybe, but it's kind of what it boils down to, right?
I think it's more nuanced than that. He's grappling with the weight of his choices, with the fact that in his world, there are no easy answers.
Okay, fair enough. But it's definitely giving me a whole new perspective on Batman's whole no-kill thing.
And it gets even more complicated when you factor in that Batman's moral code goes way beyond just not killing. The source talks about this idea of virtue ethics, basically, judging his actions through the lens of his character, not just the act itself.
So we're supposed to cut him some slack because he's Batman. Like, brooding and intimidating is okay because deep down, he's a good guy.
It's not about giving him a free pass. It's about understanding the context. The source makes a big deal about the fact that Batman holds himself to an incredibly high standard. Years of training, discipline, he's constantly battling his own inner demons, you know?
Wait, really? I always thought of him as this stoic, almost robotic figure.
Oh, he's definitely got that stoicism going on. But remember that time he almost went too far? He was enjoying hurting a criminal a little too much, and it freaked him out.
I don't remember that. Must have missed that issue.
Right, well, the point is, he stopped himself. Virtue ethics would say it's that constant struggle, that commitment to being better that really matters.
So it's like the fact that he could easily cross that line but chooses not to, that's what makes him virtuous.
Precisely. And here's where the source throws us a real curveball. Could Batman actually be considered a moral role model? Like, should we all be striving to be more like him, even with his, shall we say, unconventional methods?
Whoa, hold on. Are we really saying Batman is the gold standard for morality? He's a vigilante who operates outside the law. Isn't that like the opposite of what we should be teaching people?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the source doesn't shy away from that controversy at all. It acknowledges that while Batman's dedication to justice is admirable, his methods are definitely up for debate.
Okay, so no easy answers here then, which I guess is the whole point, right?
Exactly. It's about asking those tough questions, exploring the gray areas, and maybe, just maybe, learning something about ourselves along the way.
Right. It's like he's saying we're all one bad day away from becoming the Joker. And that's terrifying, honestly, to think that the line between sanity and chaos is so thin.
And that's what the source connects to Nietzsche. This idea that our identities aren't fixed, that we create ourselves through the choices we make.
So Batman choosing to be Batman, to confront the darkness rather than letting it consume him, that's how he defines himself.
Exactly. It's an act of rebellion against the randomness of life, against the kind of senseless tragedy that took his parents.
It's funny, I never thought about it that way. But you're right, he's not just reacting to what happened, he's actively choosing a path.
And it's a pretty lonely path, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, not exactly the kind of guy you'd invite over for a barbecue, right? All that brooding.
Well, that actually ties into a really interesting point the source makes about friendship.
Friendship. Batman. Seriously. The dude works solo. Always has.
Right. But even lone wolves crave connection. The source contrasts Aristotle's view that friendship's about shared virtues with Nietzsche's, which sees it as recognizing an equal, someone who challenges you.
Okay, so where does Batman fit into that? Who challenges him?
Well, the source makes this fascinating comparison between Batman and Superman.
The ultimate superhero showdown. Who wouldn't want to see that?
Right. But it's not about who would win in a fight. It's about their different approaches to friendship. See, Superman, he seems to genuinely believe in the good in Batman, despite all the darkness.
Which is kind of ironic considering Superman's squeaky clean image.
Right. But Batman, he seems to view Superman as this force of nature, someone who needs to be tested, challenged, maybe even pushed to confront some hard truths about himself.
So Batman's like precking for Superman to go rogue? That's kind of intense.
It's more like he recognizes that even the best of us are capable of darkness. That's why he keeps that kryptonite around, right?
Yeah, just in case. So we've got Batman, the ultimate loner, grappling with some heady stuff. There's got to be someone who keeps him grounded, right?
And that's where the source takes a really unexpected turn, focusing on Alfred.
Wait, Alfred, you mean the guy who makes Batman's breakfast?
The one and only. See, the source connects him to this idea from Kierkegaard, the Knight of Faith, someone who puts personal loyalty and love above everything else.
So while Batman's out there punching criminals, Alfred's holding down the fort, making sure Bruce doesn't completely lose himself.
Exactly. He's the voice of reason, the steady hand on the wheel. It's in those small, everyday acts of caring that he shows true strength, a different kind of heroism.
The unsung hero of Gotham, keeping Batman, well, Batman. Yeah, he's the one who picks up the pieces, literally and figuratively, right? I never thought of him as some kind of philosophical powerhouse, but you're right, he's the glue that holds everything together.
And the source takes it even further, bringing in Eastern philosophy to explain this dynamic, Taoism specifically.
Okay, now that's a curveball I didn't see coming. Taoism and Batman.
It's all about balance, right? Yin and yang, light and dark, action and inaction. They're not opposites, but two sides of the same coin.
So how does that apply to our caped crusader? He seems to be all about action. And darkness, for that matter.
Exactly. And the source suggests that without that balancing force, without that yin to his yang, he's always going to be out of whack.
And Alfred's that balancing force.
He's the voice of reason, the steady hand. Remember that Taoist idea of action without action? That's Alfred.
I'm not sure I follow.
He's not out there fighting crime, but his influence on Batman is undeniable. He guides without forcing, supports without smothering. That's a powerful kind of action in itself.
Subtle, but effective.
Exactly. And it makes you think, right? It's not just about superheroes. It's about finding that balance in our own lives.
So what you're saying is we all need a little bit of Alfred in our lives.
Absolutely. Someone to remind us to slow down, to take care of ourselves, to find joy in the little things.
Even if that someone is just making us a mean plate of bat pancakes.
Hey, a good meal can do wonders for the soul. But seriously, I think one of the most powerful takeaways from this whole deep dive is that even our fictional heroes, these larger-than-life figures, are grappling with some very real, very human struggles.
And maybe by exploring those struggles, by asking those tough questions, we can learn a thing or two about ourselves, even if we're not out there fighting crime in capes and cowls.
Exactly. So, The next time you're feeling lost, a little off balance, remember Batman and Alfred. Remember that even in the darkest corners of Gotham, there's always a glimmer of hope, a reminder that even heroes need a little help sometimes.
On that note, I think we've done our due diligence for today's deep dive. Big thanks to the authors of Batman and Philosophy, The Dark Night of the Soul, for giving us so much to ponder. Until next time, keep those philosophical wheels turning.
And remember, with great power comes great responsibility to ask the tough questions.